sure we all returned.
Alderman Strelchek,
Here.
Alderman Bushy,
Here.
Alderman Meyer,
Here.
Alderman Hatcher,
Here.
Alderman Garrow,
Here.
Alderman Parrish,
Here.
Alderman Schneider. Here.
Here. First up, we have a public hearing. Public hearing for ordinance 2022-1628, amending Chapter 58 of the Mequon Municipal Code to rezone the property located at 106 or 10766 Torrey Drive from R3 Single Family to R3 Planned Unit Development to allow for 11 lot clusters residential subdivision. This was recommended by the Planning Commission on June 27th, first reading at Common Council on August 10th. Is there a motion to go into public hearing?
Move to go into public hearing. Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are in public hearing. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak on this item? This is Torrey Drive rezoning. Hearing none, is there a motion to close public hearing?
Close the public hearing motion.
Motion and a second to close public hearing. All those in favor,
Aye.
please say aye. Aye. We are closed. We'll take up this ordinance immediately. Are there any questions, or are we ready to make a motion?
Mayor, before you make a motion,
Okay.
I just wanted to
Oh,
clarify.
Jack, Mr.
there's a
Zeta's got an
couple-
update for us. Okay.
What's that?
You've got an update for us.
Okay, yes. So there's a couple items in the ordinance I just want to address. Letter M in the address just talks about a bike path. The Planning Commission approval was for a bike path to go in this area somehow between Fairway Circle, between lot 7 and 8. We just felt that was the closest proximity to the public road. The applicant actually would prefer to have the bike path go from the outlot through to Fairway Circle here. So we're okay with that, but it just specifies in the ordinance that it has to go through the cul-de-sac. So we just want to make that clarification. And then item letter C, there is just a duplication in terms of the front setback. It was approved at 30 foot at Planning Commission, so you can disregard the 50 foot section on there. But other than that, it was approved at Planning Commission unanimously, and we recommend approval.
As a point of order, do we need to clean up the language regarding the bike path, or is it okay as is?
I just think we just need to basically agree to the motion to just change that condition to allow it to connect from the outlet to Torrey Drive to Fairway Circle. That's fine.
Just so everyone knows, I'm in favor of this, and I think we had discussion similar to this at Planning Commission about being open to other locations, pending input from staff. And I think this is sort of what everyone envisioned might happen, some alternate path, not cutting through between two lots, but behind several of them. So I think it's consistent with what we discussed. It just maybe didn't get written up that way because we didn't have anything to write about.
Correct.
At the time.
Originally the request was to connect the two roads, and that did not go well with either of the neighboring subdivisions. So the Planning Commission approved the bike path connection in lieu of a road connection.
I make a motion for approval with the bike path shown on the outlot location.
Second. That's a motion and a second. Any other comments first? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Congratulations. Happy building. Next, we have personal appearances and public comment. Citizens wishing to address the council on any matter not on the agenda may do so at this time. If you desire to be heard on an agenda item, please be heard when that item is considered on the agenda. Please speak into the mic, and time limit is 5 minutes. Does anyone wish to speak on any item not on the agenda? Seeing none. He wishes to speak on an item on the agenda. I think so. Okay, that time has come and gone. We are on to public officials reports. I have 2 proclamations, but before I do that, I'd like to say that Taste of Mequon was a success Saturday. We were blessed with good weather again. I'd like to thank the committee for their hard work in organizing it. It really was a fun time for everyone, and if I saw you out there, it was good to see you, and I hope to see you there next year. So we'll get on to the proclamations. These are for businesses being recognized in the city of Mequon, and we're lucky to have 2 of them. Recognized by the Ozaukee Economic Development Council. We got the Small Business of the Year and the Large Business of the Year. So we're very fortunate, and these are both well-deserved, so I'll read these in order, small business first. So it's a proclamation honoring Verts Marketing as the Ozaki Economic Development Council's 2022 Small Business of the Year. The Ozaki Economic Development Council recently named Verts Marketing as its 2022 Small Business of the Year. Verts Marketing, which is owned by Tim Verts, is a full-service marketing and advertising agency focused on working with small and medium-sized businesses since 2012. Over the past 5 years, Verts Marketing has continued its leadership in the digital marketing and advertising space. Verts Marketing is always focused on maximizing marketing exposure for their clients with emerging new technologies. Their clients have been able to take advantage of new strategies in content creation, search engine optimization, and video marketing on multiple platforms. Since 2018, the company has added 7 full-time employees and continues to see significant growth in its profits year over year, year after year. Verts Marketing is not just a great marketing and advertising agency. Tim Verts and his entire staff are deeply committed to the betterment of the community. Tim Verts has served on numerous boards and commissions, including the Mequon-Thiensville Chamber of Commerce, the Mequon-Thiensville Community Foundation, the Thiensville-Mequon Rotary, Gathering on the Green, and the Bay Lakes Council from the Boy Scouts of America. Verts Marketing has also partnered with Concordia University of Wisconsin to create the Verts Marketing Rotary Small Business Innovation Center to provide marketing and assistance to local businesses. Accordingly, the City of Mequon congratulates Verts Marketing on receiving the Ozaki Economic Development Council's 2022 Small Business of the Year Award, proclaims that it is proud that Verts Marketing is located within Mequon, and extends its best wishes to Tim Verts for continued success. Signed this day, 2022. Congratulations, Verts Marketing. All right, drink of water first. And now for the large business of the year, a proclamation honoring Hayes Performance Systems as the Ozaki Economic Development Council's 2022 Large Business of the Year. The Ozaki Economic Development Council recently named Hayes Performance Systems as its 2022 Large Business of the Year. Hayes Performance Systems was founded in 1946 and is a global manufacturer of brakes, suspension systems, wheels, and components. Their markets include mountain bikes, power sports, agriculture, construction, government, and specialty categories. Hayes Performance Systems employs over 500 employees globally and 224 at its headquarters here in Mequon. They have added 44 new jobs in the past 2 years as the result of revenue growth driven by new customers, 27 new product introductions, and a direct-to-customer channel addition. No matter how much Hayes Performance Systems grows internationally, its Midwestern roots ensure that it values partnerships, remains approachable, and listens first. Furthermore, the firm strives to think through the eyes of its riders, dealers, distributors, and customers who appreciate their collaborative approach when exploring innovative ways to proactively solve changing needs for reliable systems and products. Hayes Performance Systems is more than just a great manufacturer. The company supports several local chapters of national charitable organizations such as the Muscular Dystrophy Association, Milwaukee Black and Blue Ball, and the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's Scenic Shore 150 Bike Tour. They also sponsor a company-wide event for the Susan G. Komen Pink Walk for a Cure. Accordingly, the City of Mequon congratulates Hayes Performance Systems on receiving the Ozaki Economic Development Council's 2022 Large Business of the Year Award, proclaims that it is proud that Hayes Performance Systems is located within Mequon, and extends its best wishes for continued success. Signed this day, 2022. Congratulations to Hayes Performance Systems. Any reports from the city administrator?
Yes, Mayor, members of the council. While the mayor catches his breath for just a moment, a couple of quick updates. Just over 2 weeks ago, this council met as the committee of the whole to conduct a 2023 budget development workshop. Staff has been hard at work since then, crafting the proposed budget that will be distributed 2 weeks from yesterday. So you'll be receiving the draft budget, and that'll be posted on the city website by Monday, September 26th. That will be in advance of the council's meeting as the Appropriations Committee on the night of Thursday, October 6th, beginning at 6:30 p.m. in this room. And then a quick look ahead to next month's council meeting. Tuesday, October 11th, we'll have representatives from the Wisconsin Department of Transportation here to give us an update on the I-43 project. Word on the street is that the bridge at Donjas Bay Road should be opening here in the next week or so. And hopefully we'll be getting some further updates on some of the other progress that's taking place along the corridor.
It's fantastic news. I live behind that bridge. You do too.
That's the word on the street.
All right, next up, we have the consent agenda. We have 12 sets of minutes from various boards and commissions. Is there any item someone would like to remove from the consent agenda? Or is there a motion to approve them all at once? Did I hear a motion?
Yeah, move approval of consent agenda.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The consent agenda is approved. Brings us to ordinances. Ordinance 2022-16-18. Ordinance creating section 10-26 of the Mequon Municipal Code related to residential swimming pools. This was recommended by Public Welfare Committee on February 8th. First reading at Common Council on February 8th. Tabled at Common Council on March 8th. Recommended by the Public Welfare Committee on April 12th. Rejected by the Common Council on May 10th. Reconsidered by the Common Council June 14th. And subsequently tabled by the Common Council on June 14th. Recommended by the Public Welfare Committee on August 10th. So before we do anything, we need a motion to remove this from the table. Is there a motion to remove it from the table?
Motion to remove from the table. Second.
Motion in a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion is on the table. So as you can surmise, we've bounced this one around a little bit. Before we get too far into the discussion, though, we do have one person registered to speak. So we'll get public comment out of the way. We have Brian Miller from 13804 North Martin Way, supports and wishes to speak.
Hi, good evening. My name is Brian Miller, and I am an 18-year resident of Mequon, proud. And I'm here to speak this evening on behalf of support of the amendment to the ordinance to allow pool safety covers as an adequate compromise in lieu of fencing only. I think that automatics, I've been able, over the last few days, been able to read some of the comments from the spring meetings that you guys had where a lot of data was given, and I learned a lot myself. And certainly, being a homeowner with a pool, I'm in support of a pool safety cover under the right circumstances. I think that I want to concede that pool safety covers serve an important purpose, and that I think it's become clear that fences are not the only option. And at times, I think that it's most appropriate that other solutions might be, under the compromise of the council this evening. My understanding is that pool fences, when they are maintained, tend to serve as a deterrent and an obstacle that mitigates or prevents pool-related incidents. This is particularly beneficial in situations when pools are visible from beyond the lot line, and that's also known as an attractive nuisance. However, in Mequon, those of us who are, some of us are lucky to have pools, and even having them so they're not necessarily visible from the lot line. And I purchased a home last year that was under such a requirement that a pool was installed without a fence, and that I am now admittedly unaware of the law at the time when I did move into the home. And the pool happens to be about 100 plus feet from the lot line, so it's not visible from the actual street. And it's blocked by natural barriers such as trees and some natural landscaping. So I'm one of 8 homes in the development, and the pool cover has actually been in place for those 17 years, and it served as a really, it served as a deterrent from not only from debris and animals getting in, but also there hasn't been any incidents of any anyone getting hurt. So I think that in my situation, I'm asking for a compromise from the council this evening because a pool cover is in place, and ultimately to add the fencing that would be required would be not only extremely costly, it would also take away from some of the natural design elements from the home, and it would just it's well. I'm asking for your support this evening, and ultimately, I understand that you guys have a lot to consider with the past data that you guys have hopefully been able to read over the last week or so leading into the meeting. So, thank you for your consideration. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. So bringing it back here, this has obviously been before us many times, and it's been proposed and tabled and rethought, rehashed. I hope tonight we'll make a decision one way or another and move forward, whichever way that may be. So there was,
Sorry.
yeah, well, yeah, it's always appropriate for a motion. So we've looked at this numerous times. If you're satisfied with the updates and you think that adequately addresses some of your issues, please vote for it. If you don't, feel free to vote against it. I personally think that part of this is change is hard, and we've been comfortable with fences for a long time. I know many people who have these; they work just well for them. So we'll see how the voting goes here, but I think they can be effective if they're managed reasonably. The number one safety feature in any pool is a diligent homeowner to keep things maintained and working properly and provide adequate supervision. And that's true no matter whether you have a fence or a safety cover. So with that, if there's a motion or a discussion, I'd be happy to entertain it.
Okay, sorry to interrupt you. Move to approve.
Second.
So motion and a second. And then Alderman Strelchuk had a comment or a question.
Yeah, Can we just go over what the updates were since the first time this came through? I saw, the age of 15 must be within 10 feet. And then can we summarize what some of those other things were and how we came to those?
Sure. So the primary changes are, as you indicated, first we updated the language as it related to the responsible supervision component of the previous code. We changed that to be somebody that needed to be at least 15 years instead of 14, which is what was in the previous code, but also that they need to be outdoors and within 10 feet of the pool to count as supervision. So the thought there, I think, from the committee was that you didn't want to have somebody that was, say in the front yard while the pool was open in the backyard, so to speak. In addition, changes that were made from the last version that the council saw is that we specify that power safety covers are only allowed in single-family residences in single-family zoning districts to limit where they might be found. We also made a requirement that the safety cover has to be 30 feet from the lot line, regardless of which zoning district you are. Residential zoning offsets range from 20 to 30 feet, depending on which district, and it could be even closer than that in some circumstances if you have a certain type of lot. We figured we would just set that at one consistent number so that it was consistent for everybody. We picked the higher of those numbers just because, again, the idea is that the more separation you have from the neighbors, if they have kids, the better potentially you are with the attractive nuisance, as Mr. Miller indicated. Likewise, we added provisions that say that repeated violations of the code constitutes a public nuisance, and it sets potential of removal of the pool or the cover as a potential abatement mechanism that we could seek in court if we needed to do that. And then the final primary change is that we did reference that all of the standards that are referenced within the code are the current standard that's in place at the time that the safety feature is installed. So just to try to keep that current, and those were the primary changes.
I think we did, I don't have the notes in front of me, but I think we also changed the carrying weight classification on that.
I think we raised it to 2,000 pounds, if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken. It used to be 480 or something.
I know we discussed it. I don't remember that we changed it, but certainly that's not reflected in what's here. So if that's the somebody from the committee's desire, you would want to make an amendment to that.
That's just my recollection, but
That was my recollection also. All three of us were on the committee and
It was, yeah, and the whole committee had agreed to it, so.
Yeah, so you want to make an amendment if we want to carry that through, because that's not reflected in the current version.
can I make that?
Yeah, if we'd like to propose an amendment,
Sure, I'd like to propose an amendment that the minimum safety standard is that it has a carrying capacity of at least 2,000 pounds.
Alderman Bush, you do accept that?
Yes. Motion and a second on the amendment, so that be,
Well,
that's
they made the
sufficient to make it
original,
part of the motion?
they made the original motion. So are they amending their motion?
So those are the two, so it's a friendly amendment,
Is that right?
if there is such a thing. Any other comments from the committee? Alderman Hancher.
I have a question. So let's say I'm a homeowner and my neighbor has a pool with the cover. I go out there and I notice that the pool is open and I see nobody there. Is that a violation? And if it is a violation, who do I call?
It is a violation. You would have
And
to.
take a picture of it. Let's say, I take a picture. I say, I took a picture of the pool. There's nobody visible from where I'm standing. Is that a violation?
It certainly would be a violation. You would need to have either it be in use by somebody that is at least 15 years of age or to be supervised as specified. You would have your option as to who to call. If it was during regular business hours, you could certainly call the planning department, who has some authority to enforce these regulations. Or I should say the community development department. The building inspectors would take care of that. The other option would be that you call the police department, as Pat growls at me and does that, recognizing that in both cases, we may not, I mean, if they're busy handling a bank robbery or something, obviously that's going to take a different priority, and so it may not be something that we're going to be able to verify, but it would be a violation.
So then let's say the pool owner says, we did have somebody, and there's a dispute between the two neighbors, whether the pool cover was supervised, the pool was supervised or not. Who decides the disputes
Well,
between two neighbors?
as is always the case, the initial determination will be by the enforcement officer that's there. Enforcement officers always have discretion and the ability to make determinations as to their beliefs as to what took place. And if there is a citation that's ultimately issued, then it ultimately becomes a question for the court to decide if one or the other is more trustworthy or believable at that point.
And am I correct that the city does not recommend this? The city staff, do they recommend the switch or no?
I think that it's probably fair to say that city staff, by and large, does not support the amendment. There are a number of reasons for that specified on page 63 of the packet.
Okay. So I guess I'm not in support of this because, number one, we haven't had any pool incidents where people have drowned. And so the fence obviously is working well. Second of all, I think it would be hard to enforce as opposed to a fenced-in pool. So that's another reason why I want. And then I think it's going to be difficult for people to identify whether it's a violation or not. If you're going outside and you see a pool and you don't see anybody there, maybe for a minute or whatever, then you're splitting hairs, and I can see where it becomes more of a problem than than it's worth, because, like I said, I've talked to city staff about people having pools, has it been safe with the fence, and they said yes. So my inclination is to, if it's not broken, don't try to fix it.
Alderman Gero.
I think Alderman Bush hit his hand first.
Oh, did he? Okay. Alderman Bushy.
I'll try to make my points real quick here. Police chief noted earlier that he saw me out running on Sunday in the rain, or not police chief, fire chief, sorry. And as I was running, I stopped to take a picture. Fortunately, the rain did wait until Sunday to come down for Mequon's benefit. I took a picture, and I only, for some reason, printed out 2 pages before coming here, and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to share if I only have 2. That's the rule I grew up with. What's that? So, okay, there's a camera somewhere. Anyways, this is a water retention pond that I ran past, and it is very full. You can't see the rocks that are around it. There's no fence around here. I know when I've gone to my brother's old house on the lake, nobody has a fence around the lake. This doesn't seem to be a common thing in Wisconsin. So that's my first quick point regarding our application of fences. Second, there's mention in our packet about saying that fences, according to data, appear to be safer. I spoke with city attorney, and there doesn't seem to be supporting evidence in the information behind that. So that shouldn't actually be in our packet anymore. And then third point is that as Alderman Hensher said, that sometimes, if something's not broken, don't fix it. But this has been in an ordinance since 1967. That was, as a frame of reference, 2 years before the Apollo mission to the moon. Steve Jobs was only 12 years old at the time, so times have changed a lot since then. We now have cell phones, we have little doorbells for safety with cameras in them. We have a tremendous amount of advancements in other technology, medical area, and we try to benefit when technology comes to us. And on a personal note, I know when I was out for a bike ride a couple of months ago, a city bus, this is in Milwaukee, started going over to pick up a passenger on the side. It didn't stop. I had to stop. If we had, benefits of technology that are coming around the corner of self-driving cars and other indicators, I wouldn't have had to worry about that, and pedestrians would be much safer. So, as I see it, that as these technological advances are being introduced to us, we should be taking advantage of them for our safety and quality of life improvements. And to go by an adage that I know that from where I work is that because that is the way we've always done it, isn't a good reason for not changing things and moving into the 21st century. Thank you.
Alderman Gero.
So we've worked on this for getting close to a year. And I've read all the documents, and I've also gone to all the footnotes that were attached and read all the footnotes on this. And I put together a little outline. I have all the data. I have the pages on where it comes from. I have all the background on it. So here's how it goes. It goes, our pool ordinance has not been updated since 1967. Its guidance comes from an outdated 55-year-old uniform building code we are not required to follow anymore. Updates are long overdue. Technology has changed since 1967. It's time for us, again, to update to the 21st century. I don't agree that a pool is an attractive nuisance. It's a fun and enjoyable social gathering place. To be clear, staff's recommendation is that pool safety covers alone should not be allowed. And they state, the available data shows that fences provide the best level of safety in all circumstances. That has not been, I have not read that anywhere on the internet. I have not read that on any of all they said is that the available data, there's no footnote on it. It's an opinion, and none of the facts support that. 3, staff made inquiries to surrounding communities, and And the only communities that allow an exemption include town of Cedarburg and the city of Menasha. There are many more. We can add to that. In addition, River Hills and O'Connell have no ordinances. You don't require a pool fence or a safety cover. Grafton, the Village of Wales, Wausau, Stevens Point, Howard, Green Bay, Kohler, Sturgeon Bay are some additions you can add to that, to name a few. I own a pool. The enforcement and regulations of pool fences and automatic safety covers are no different. If somebody sees my pool fence being open, they call the police or they call the city. It's the same way. If the gates are open, it's a violation. And there's no way to really tell on a pool fence, because if the gates are open, it looks like they're closed. Same exact enforcement problems occur with a pool fence as it will occur with an automatic safety cover. However, you can climb a pool fence or open a gate. You cannot get in a closed automatic safety cover. On top of that, when pool owners go on vacation, they just put the latches on their gates, which can be opened by anybody or climbed over by kids. I left her vacation 3 years ago to Alaska for 3 weeks. Kids could have entered my pool. They could have climbed the fence. They could open the gates. With an automatic safety cover, that would be absolutely impossible. Correcting the record from the piece that we got just today, when I read through it, there was a footnote number 2 that stated that this was the case. It said, it's in today's handout, and it says, Consumer Product Safety Commission concludes that fences provide the best level of protection. When it considered pool safety covers, the Consumer Product Safety Commission notes that they would be beneficial in adding an additional layer of protection, and goes on to say, because fences appear to provide the best protection. That was footnote number 2. So I went back and read the entire article on that. It was 20 pages long. It said that nowhere in the article. What it said was, and this is verbatim, the only thing it talked about power safety covers, it said, power safety covers can be installed on pools to provide security barriers. Power safety covers should conform to the specifications in ASTM F1346-91 standard, which specifies safety performance requirements for pool covers to protect young children from drowning. That's all it said. So it did not say anything about fences, and it did not have any preference to or comparison. Technical advancements in pool safety covers made pool fences obsolete in comparison to the power safety covers. Made pool fences obsolete in comparison. Page 32 of one of your handouts, it says, regarding pool fencing, the false sense of security that often results in its use is a dangerous option we cannot endorse. In addition, gates are too frequently left open in the jar. And here from the official journal of the American Academy of Pediatrics, it shows fences may give only a 19% better rate of protection than having no fence at all. Now, May 30th, 2022, Fox News, this is from Lawrence, Kansas. It was on national news. A 4-year-old autistic boy was briefly out of sight from his mother and accessed a locked pool with a 6-foot fence. And this is a quote from Douglas County Fire Lieutenant Jeff Kroll, who lost his own child in 2008 and saved the boy's life. Here's what he says, quote, his head was completely underwater. He lost his ability to scream. What you see in his arms, you see a little bit of movement. We call it climbing. He was trying to climb out of the water. I find that emotionally disgusting. Anyway, hundreds of thousands of these certified covers, these certified safety power safety covers have been installed worldwide over the last 60 years, and resulting in just a handful of accidents or near drowning. That was on page 28 of one of your pamphlets. That is a statistically 100% effective when they are closed. going on, the benefits of a safety cover. They isolate the water itself, removes all temptation from children to enter the water itself. It's impenetrable, not like a fence. So when they see the pool, all they see is a rubber mat on top of there where they have no ambition, no reason, no temptation to try and get in that pool. The standards are, it supports up to 42,000 pounds, worth ours are at 2 tons. It can be opened and closed in less than a minute. It's not attractive from a distance, unlike a fence. When some kid sees a fence, if I'm out of town in Alaska, they see a fence, oh geez, there must be a pool there, they can jump in and climb over and get in the gate. And the other thing says it saves 90%, it saves 90% of the evaporation, 70% of the heating costs, 50% of the electrical costs, and 77% of the chemical use. Alderman Bushy sent talked to a person named Justin Wiley from the Pool and Hot Tub Alliance and asked if anybody who ever had an automatic safety cover, if one of those anywhere in the nation they came back from a city that approved it, came back and said and reversed their decision. And Jeff Wiley says in his response, no, not to our knowledge. And then Alderman Bushy turns around and asks the next question. Have there been any drownings, unfortunately associated with automatic pool covers that you are aware of? Response, there have not been any reported to the Pool and Hot Tub Association. So, I'm going to try to conclude here quickly. I saw an email from Mike Hadley over to Becky Stein back on May 5th of 2022, and he tried to get her to bring a bunch of people to speak at the Common Council meeting, and he went on to say that community development remains against automatic safety covers. The power safety covers are a great product, but we still feel that fences are the first line of defense. And then he put on, he said, most homeowners are installing both, which is great. Now, just to staff's defense, I almost always agree with staff. I don't question staff, but I thought, I don't believe that that's the case. So I did an open records request between 2019 and 2020 for 3 years to see how many people actually installed both. There were 28 permits taken out for in-ground pools. Only 11 of them included a fence. So 17 of them were put up with no barriers whatsoever. None of them installed a power safety cover. So Mr. Miller came and spoke tonight. I think there's a number of pools out there that have no barriers on them whatsoever. When I bought my house, there was no barrier on the pool. Community development says we're attempting to fix a problem that does not exist. And it goes on to say that we're addressing a public policy issue that has been of great public interest. Very little public input has been provided. Further, the original proponent of the pool ordinance has pulled a fence permit. Amber Schrader no longer needs a fence because she put one up because she has a puppy. She wants to protect it from coyotes. But if you dig a little deeper, I think we're going to find a lot of people, if they go back and you say you got to put up a pool fence now, they're going to want to do an automatic safety cover. And finally, I have one last thing to say, if I have to, and I'm just going to read this for you because I put a lot of time and effort. I probably put 50 hours in this thing. And I'm going to tell you what Mr. Miller came here today. And I'm going to tell you what it comes down to. This gentleman comes before us today to install a power safety cover. He needs our permission to do this. He is willing to spend the extra money necessary because he wants the safest possible device to protect against accidental drowning for his family, friends, guests, both invited and potentially uninvited. He is a responsible member of our community and also understands the liability he faces should an accident occur on his property. He wants something that enhances and protects the environment both aesthetically and naturally. He wants something that protects wildlife from injury and accidental drowning, something that saves energy, does not pollute the environment, and lowers his chemical use by 70%. He wants to keep his investment in his pool clean and free of debris. he also understands that this will not protect the uninvited from potential hazard of the large pond behind his house. Are we now going to tell him to put up a fence because we haven't updated our ordinances to keep with the technical advances since 1967, 55 years ago? Doing so would not only be unreasonable, but force Mr. Miller to accept the least safe and most obnoxious and intrusive option. I ask you to do the right thing and update our ordinance.
Alderman Strelczyk.
Yeah, I made a lot of the similar comments in the last meeting, and I just want to reiterate a few of them. And, you know, after seeing this come back, there were some changes made, and I appreciate the hard work on the Public Welfare Committee, but the changes weren't as substantive as I would hope for in order to support it. Just to give a little background on myself, I'm a former competitive swimmer of 11 years, swam for Homestead High School swim team and into college, also in grade school. I was a lifeguard. I was a lifeguard training instructor, and I taught people what it meant to understand and maintain pool safety. I consider myself an experienced person in this area. I wouldn't call myself a current expert, but I'm current enough to know what I experienced while on the pool deck. What I shared previously is that what people have a pool to do is it's there for entertainment, it's there for enjoyment, you're either actively using it, but you also, if you have a residence, you're having pool parties and things like that. You're in and out of the house, you have your meals sometimes served inside, sometimes served outside, and kids are going in and out of the pool. I think the way that this is currently written with somebody that needs to be 10 feet from the pool, I don't see that as something that's enforceable by our municipal code. We got several different municipal issues with enforcement that have dragged on over multiple years. I see this as becoming one of our next options for that. Alderman Girls expressed concern that the city doesn't enforce certain nuisances and things like that, and I think this has a potential to rapidly become one of those. The recommended path is, calling it a nuisance property and then maybe recommending filling in the pool. If you think it's burdensome to put up a pool cover and a fence, if you feel that level of safety, imagine being told you need to fill in your pool because you had 2 or 3 violations. There's no benchmark listed in the ordinance as to when that would go into place. It's all left to personal and public opinion at that point, and I don't think that's a reasonable way to legislate. I feel that a pool should not have 360-degree access without a barrier of some sort all the way around it. I think a fence is an appropriate opportunity to keep people out of the pool when you don't want to access it. If you want the extra layer of security, as I said in the last meeting, you sure as hell have the option to install this pool cover in addition to your fence. Again, if public safety is that level of concern for you, you might want to entertain doing both, but you know what, that comes at an expense, and people quite frankly want to spend money on what they want to see in their pool, and that's really what this comes down to at this point. There was nothing addressed in the updated information that what happens if the pool mechanism breaks. What if it's down? Does it break open? If it's left open, how long will it take to get somebody out to repair it? At that point, somebody has full access to your pool or a portional access to your pool. I just, quite frankly, like everything that was listed as a reason to have this as a new opportunity. Technology is there, whatever, it's an old ordinance. Well, you know what? There are some old ordinances that quite frankly continue to work. I got a feeling this is going to keep coming back and forth, whether it gets approved or not. Tonight, it's going to be like the chicken ordinance, like it was called out in a message that I saw on Facebook. And the bottom line is that people want this. I just don't feel that this ordinance is in a place where we can support it. I don't feel that we've addressed the key issues that I brought up previously. And as it stands right now, I certainly can't accept it as it is, and I won't vote in favor of it. My apologies.
Any further comments? Going once, going twice. Okay. We have a motion and a second. and an amendment from those same motioners to increase the load rating from whatever it was to 2,000 pounds, as discussed in the subcommittee. So that motion is before us. Let's call the roll.
Alderman Strelchuk,
No.
Alderman Bushy,
Aye.
Alderman Meyer,
Aye.
Alderman Hancher,
No.
Alderman Garrow,
Aye.
Alderman Parrish.
Aye.
Alderman Schneider. Aye. 5 ayes, 3 no.
Ordinance passes. On to resolutions. Resolution 3977, resolution authorizing an amendment to the contract for the design of proposed pedestrian and traffic safety improvements along Mequon Road from Buntrock Avenue east towards Cedarburg Road to R.H. Batterman and Company of Beloit, Wisconsin, in the amount not to exceed, and this was amended at committee to a slightly higher amount. I had it written down somewhere. I have it written down right here, I believe. Here. Amount now at $61,540. This was recommended earlier at the committee of the whole meeting, and we have one resident who wishes to speak on this item. Bob Wallerstein from 4707 West Parkview. Please come up to the podium.
Good evening. Bob Wallerstein, 47307 West Parkview Drive. Been a resident of Mequon for about 50 years now. I'm in the third home in the same subdivision. The reason I'm in front of you this evening is in reference to a safety matter. Qualifications, who I am. I've served on probably more committees than I can remember. But basically, the intersection, let me tell you a little quick little story. My son is now 42 years old. When he was around 7 or 8 years old, he was going to Wilson School. He was crossing the intersection of Mequon and Buntrock, and one of his classmates ran out front. Teacher tried to stop him, ran out, and he got hit by a car. The city woke up. He wasn't injured that badly, but there was enough emphasis to put up a stoplight, and that was many years ago. I'm driving down Mequon Road, as I said before. I've lived here for 50 years, and I was going by that intersection, and a lady was crossing the street pushing a buggy. I, of course, stopped, let her pass. Meanwhile, I almost got smashed in the back because the car wasn't paying attention. And I'm sure most of the people in this room who've crossed that intersection, who have seen people cross that intersection, were also probably close to getting into an accident. Now, this is an issue that I understand has been in front of the Common Council a number of times. So far, nothing really has been done constructively to address this issue and finally solve this problem. Saying that, the only thing that's really going to push you people to do something is, God forbid, somebody gets hit. For example, I believe Cedarburg had an accident several years ago, and it was about the same kind of a scenario where somebody stopped, somebody went around them, and hit the person on a bike, I believe. I'm not quite sure, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened. So I've served on a number of committees. I was a reserve officer here for 17 years. I love the committee. I'm going to stay here until I croak. That's beside the point. But I really urge you to finally address this issue and not just discuss it, but take action and take care of something before somebody gets hurt. And when that happens, it goes in the paper, and there'll be a hue and cry, and then something will be done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wallerstein. Before we get too far into it, we are here tonight to vote on this, to do exactly what Mr. Wallerstein suggested. We first started looking at this a couple of years ago for that exact reason, and the delays are mostly attributable to disagreements between our vision and what the DOT would allow, but we've thankfully negotiated with them and gotten almost everything we've wanted. We just need to finalize the plans and get them out to bid, and this is a key component to making that happen tonight. So earlier at committee, we voted to slightly increase the funding on this line item to make sure there's no disagreement at all between us and the contractor, even though we probably could have justified paying a little less to make sure this moves forward in the most expedient manner possible, because Mr. Wallerstein's right, we can't afford to wait anymore. And this is a high priority item for many in the city. I probably get most questions on this item over all other items combined. And I'm sure there are some other aldermen up here who are in the similar situation. So this remains a high priority. With that, we discussed this earlier tonight at the Committee of the Whole. Do we want to make a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say, well, wait, got to call the roll, it's money. Please call the roll.
Alderman Bushy.
Aye.
Alderman Meyer.
Aye.
Alderman Hancher.
Aye.
Alderman Garrow.
Aye.
Alderman Parrish.
Aye.
Alderman Schneider.
Aye.
Alderman Strelczyk.
Aye.
Motion passes. Yeah, unanimously, as it should. Resolution 3978, a resolution approving amendments to the city's 2022 fee schedule in connection with ambulance and emergency medical services.
Quick question on
Yeah.
that last vote. Technically, does that include the increased amount that was suggested before? Or did we have to state that in the move to approve?
That's how I read it to begin
Okay.
with, so it would. But thank you for checking. That would be a horrible oversight. Getting back to ambulance and emergency medical transport fees, this was recommended earlier this evening by finance and personnel. Just so the public knows, this is an update, partially to keep up with what's going on in the industry, as well as our continued efforts to merge operations and services with Thiensville. We're both adopting the same fee schedule early so that when we hit the ground running on January 1st, we're all operating on the same fee structure. Are there any comments, or is there a motion?
Move to approve. Second.
Motion and a second. Hearing no more discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That resolution passes. Next up, Resolution 3979, a resolution authorizing the purchase of road signs in the amount of $35,000 from the right-of-way asset capital account to replace signage along streets included in the city's annual road program from 2015 to 2018. There was a recommendation that's forthcoming from Public Works.
Public Works approved of it, 3-0.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Motion.
We
Oh,
don't
we
have
need
a
a
motion.
motion.
Motion to
Second.
approve.
Second.
Getting a cart before the horse. Motion and a second. Okay, now please call the roll.
Alderman Meyer.
Aye.
Alderman Hancher.
Aye.
Alderman Garrow.
Aye.
Alderman Parrish. Alderman Schneider.
Aye.
Alderman Strelczyk.
Aye.
Alderman Bushy.
That passes as well. Resolution 3980, a resolution approving an amendment to a funding agreement between the City of Mequon and MMSD, increasing the amount by $726,343 for sewer lateral work to reduce infiltration and inflow from private property sources. This was recommended earlier this evening by the Sewer Utility Commission. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Alderman Hancher.
Aye.
Alderman Garrow.
Aye.
Alderman Parrish. Alderman Schneider.
Aye.
Alderman Strelczyk.
Aye.
Alderman Bushy.
Aye.
Alderman Meyer.
That resolution passes. On to Resolution 3981, related to the previous resolution, for a contract to install building sewer lateral cleanouts in the Riverdale Park Lift Station F area to MJ Construction of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in the amount of $755,060. This was also recommended earlier this evening by the Sewer Utility District Commission. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please respond when your name is called for the roll.
Good one.
Smooth.
Alderman Garrow.
Aye.
Alderman Parrish.
Aye.
Alderman Schneider.
Aye.
Alderman Strelchuk.
Aye.
Alderman Bushy.
Aye.
Alderman Meyer.
Aye.
And Alderman Hancher.
Aye.
That resolution passes as well. We have no specified unfinished business or specified new business, which brings us to potential closed sessions.
Could I just ask a quick question?
Yes.
We didn't do a roll call on the rezoning, and for some reason I thought rezoning needed a roll call. Is that not true? No. No, okay.
Good to check, though. So we've had 3 potential closed sessions. I'll read these and we can vote on them after each reading. I'll give me a chance to catch my breath. First one is for legal services. The Common Council may convene into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.85(1)(c) for the purposes of considering employment, promotions, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public official over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. In Wisconsin Statute 19.85(1)(e) for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, investment of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, and then may reconvene into open session to take such action as deemed appropriate. Is there a motion?
Move to go into closed
hearing for
session.
that?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Roll call on that too.
I'll vote.
Roll call.
Alderman Parrish.
Aye.
Alderman Schneider.
Aye.
Alderman Strelchuk.
Aye.
Alderman Bushy.
Aye.
Alderman Meyer.
Aye.
Alderman Hancher.
Aye.
Alderman Garrow.
Aye.
Mayor Nervin.
Aye. So that potential item is approved. On to the next one. Potential claim against the Mequon Police Department. The Common Council may convene into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.85 Prin 1, Prin G for the purposes of conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is likely to become involved, and then may reconvene into open session to take such action as deemed necessary. So is there a motion for this item?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Alderman Schneider.
Aye.
Alderman Strelchuk.
Aye.
Alderman Bushy.
Aye.
Alderman Meyer.
Aye.
Alderman Hancher.
Aye.
Alderman Garrow.
Aye.
Alderman Parrish.
Aye.
Mayor Nervin.
Aye. And the last one. Zaki County Communication Services Agreement. The Common Council may convene into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.85 Prin 1 Prin E for the purposes of deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investment of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, and then may reconvene into open session to take such action as deemed appropriate.
Move to go into closed session.
Motion in a second. Please call the roll.
Alderman Strelchuk.
Aye.
Alderman Bushy.
Aye.
Alderman Meyer.
Aye.
Alderman Hancher.
Aye.
Alderman Garrow.
Aye.
Alderman Parrish.
Aye.
Alderman Schneider.
Aye.
Mayor Nervin.
Aye. I do not believe we anticipate returning, correct? So say goodnight to everyone online, and we'll adjourn in private.